everyone, I am Nikita Murthy, Faculty of Information Science and Engineering, Maharaja Institute of Technology, Mysore. Now, let us study network functionality. To conceptualize a network functionality or to ease our understand, we have divided the networks into several layers. To explain, I have considered one of them, that is Open System Interconnection Model, that is OSI model. It has 7 layers. It has divided the networks into 7 layers. They are physical layer, data link layer, network layer, transport layer, session layer, presentation layer and application layer. Now, let us consider host A is sending messages to host B. While sending, when host A is sending the message, it has to pass through all these layers. Now, we will see what are these layers will do. In the physical layer, it has all the hardware components like physical cable, optic fiber, etc. All the communication hardware components will be present in the physical layer. What happens? When the host send the message, it will be received through physical layer and then it will send it to the data link layer. The data link layer receives the message from the physical layer and it converts the raw message into bits, that is zeros and ones, which is machine level language, and this is also easy to process. Now, the data link layer sends the message to network layer. Your network layer will also receive the message from the data link layer and it groups these bits into packets. Why? Because it is easy to recognize a particular word or a particular format in all the zeros and bits sequence. For this ease of processing, we convert the bits into packet. This network layer will send the message to transport layer. As the name itself says, transport layer is used to transport the data. That means it coordinates the data transfer. That means how much data has to be sent, at what speed it has to be sent, where it has to be sent, all these will be decided in the transport layer. Next is session layer. If two persons have to talk with each other, means it is necessary for them to listen to each other also. That means this listening process is taken care by session layer. If a host is sending message, means host B should listen to that message, isn't it? That will be taken care by the session layer. Next is presentation layer. As the name itself says, it is all about the presenting the data. It will present the data in a particular format as required by the application layer. And in the application layer, it has all the softwares which we users use at the computers, or all the softwares applications will be present in this application layer. The message that has been sent by the host A will pass through all of these layers and then it will send it to host B. While receiving, at the receiving end, it has to pass through all these layers again in a reverse order, so that it can be received by the host B. So, now we will start with the modules. Your first module is application layer, the top layer of the OSI model, that we are going to study in brief in this module, that is application layer. In application layer, first we will be seeing principles of network application. Principles of network application. The core principle of this application layer is to build a software or to build a application. To build an application or to build a software, what a software engineer will do? He will write a program. Just writing a program is not efficient or not enough. That program must be efficient enough to run on all the computers. That means, it has to be compatible that enough to run on all the computers, and it has to be efficient enough to use very less resources to give a very good performance, and it has to run in a very less time. That means, it has to run very fast. This is the main principle of a network application. So, under principle of network application, first we will be seeing what network application architecture. Before we build any software or any application, designing the software is very necessary. The designing part is only we call it as application architecture. This architecture will be developed by the application developer. This, why is it necessary, means it tells us how the application is structured on various computers. To design the architecture, a developer uses two famous models, that is client server architecture, another one is peer to peer architecture. In the client server architecture, there will be a main computer or a host called a server. All the remaining host or a computer are called as client. That means, let us take the example of a Gmail. Here I want to send an email to my friend. That means, I am working on my computer, I am a user. Thus, user computers are all called as clients. The email that has been sent by the user, it will be stored in the Gmail server, and then it will be sent it to the proper recipient. That means, whatever the request that has been raised by the client, it has to go through the server. That means, the request the client has been requested, it will all be fulfilled by the server. That means, this is like a boss and all other computers are like employees. What are the requests the employees will raise, it will be answered by the boss, that is a server. Now, the only disadvantage with this client server architecture is this whole software or this whole system is based on a single host or a single computer, that is a server. If the server fails to give the function, the whole system will go down. That is why all the companies have come up with a new concept called data center. Data center is a house of many huge amount of servers. Now, can millions of requests that has been raised by the client, can it be handled by a single server? No, right? That means, for that purpose only, in the data center they will house a group of servers to fulfill the request that has been raised by all the clients. Now, I want to send a message instantly to my friend. I do not want it to get stored on a server and then it has to be sent it to a recipient. It has to be instantly received by my friend. For that purpose, what I can do, I can make the client to communicate with the other client. That architecture is only called as peer to peer architecture. In the peer to peer architecture, there is no server concept. The client will directly communicate with the other client. That is why here they call it as a peer. Instead of client, they will be called as a peer. That means, a peer can directly speak with the other peer. This is very useful while sending instant messages. The next concept that we will be studying under the principle of network application is the interface between the process and the computer network. Now, suppose I want to send a postcard to my friend. Now, if I am in a house, there should be a passage for me to go out and send that postcard, isn't it? That means, a doorway. For every house or for every computer, there has to be a doorway for it to send a message to the other person. Now, I have written a postcard, I have written the address of my friend, and I want to send it to my friend. Means, what I will do? I will come out of my house through the door, and what I will do? I will put it in a post box, and then the postman, what will do? He will collect all the letters and he will send it to the other post office or the post box where the particular address is there, and then that village or that town postman will come and collect all those, and then he will deliver it to the proper house, isn't it? That is how here the process or the process of sending message is happening. Now, suppose host A wants to send a message to host B. The doorway through which it can send a message is called as a socket. Socket is a doorway for every computer for it to send any messages. Now, through socket what we will do? We will put all the messages that we want to send it to the other computer. All these messages will get stored it in a buffer, and then the postman will come and collect all the letters and he will send it to the other village or town, isn't it? Who is the postman? Internet. The internet will collect all those messages that are stored it in a buffer and he will store it in the other post box of the village, that means other buffer of the recipient. And the recipient, that is host B, will receive all the messages that has been collected in a buffer through again a socket, which is a doorway. This socket is also called as application programming interface, that is API. It is the interface between the application layer and the transport layer. Now, today there will be in a network, there will be lots of millions of computers that are connected in a single network. How can I identify a particular computer? Now, if I want to send a postcard to my friend, I will write the address, the door number, the street name and the building name and the village where he is residing, isn't it? Now, how can I identify the host B in the network? Yes, to identify the particular computer in a network, we use IP address. IP address, Internet Protocol address. This Internet Protocol address or IP address uniquely identifies the computer in a network. Now, let me give you one example. Now, suppose I have opened a Candy Crush on my laptop. Along with that, I have opened a Gmail where I am expecting a email, and in the Candy Crush I have asked my friend to send a live to me. Now, can the email be received in a Candy Crush application? Can a live be received in an email? Has this happened anywhere? No, right? How is it going to happen? How we are going to receive the same message to this particular process only? Even though both the messages are coming to the same computer, we are receiving the particular message on a particular application. How is this possible? That to identify a particular process that is running in a particular computer, we use port number. Yes, just by giving the IP address does not give you anything. You have to include port number. That means I am sending a message to a particular computer. In that particular computer, I am sending the message to a particular process that is running in a particular computer. So, whenever we want to address any computer, we have to use IP address along with that port number. Here, under the principle, the third concept which we are studying is transport services available to application. Even the transport layer is also providing so many services to our application layer. What are those? Reliable data transfer, throughput, timing and security. Let us see reliable data transfer. So, now as a India, the intelligence report is we are sending it to America, but can it be mistakenly be sent to Pakistan? No, right? That may cause a disaster. That means we should have a trustable network or a trustable path, a communication channel where it will send it to the proper recipient. That only we are calling it as a reliable data transfer. That means a trustable data transfer. That means it will ensure that the message that we are sending, it will be received by the proper recipient. But there are few applications that can tolerate a data miscommunication. That application we call it as loss tolerant applications. Next is throughput. Throughput is nothing but how much data we are sending per second. Now, I am sending a message called how are you to my friend. Can I expect it to be received word by my friend, like how will be received first, are will be received second, you will be received third. Is that okay? No, right? The whole message how are you has to be received wholly by my friend. That means huge amount of data we should be able to send it through per second. That is also taken care by my transport layer. Next is timing. Now, I have sent a message to my friend. Can it take a 1 day to be received by my friend? It is not tolerable, isn't it? I want it to be instantly received by my friend, and I am expecting a reply from him very instantly also. That means a time taken by the message to travel from sender to receiver, that should be very less. That is also taken care by my transport layer. Next is security. As I said, the message which you are sending, it should not be stolen by anyone. The hacker should not be able to hack the system and steal the data. How can we do it? We can provide the security by hiding the data or changing the original format of the message into another format which is not understandable by my attacker, by malware attacker. Now, when it is we are hiding the message, that process is called encryption, and then when it is received by the recipient, it has to be unhid by the recipient. That means that process is called a decryption. That means the disguised format has to be converted to original format for the receiver to understand the message. All this will be taken care by the security which is provided by the transport layer. The fourth concept which we are studying under the principle of network application is transport services provided by the internet. Not only the physical communication, the connectionless, that is internet is also providing so many services through network layer to the application layer. It provides two services, that is TCP services, another one is UDP services. TCP services are connection oriented and reliable data transfer. Both will also be taken care by the TCP services. That means TCP services provides connection oriented services and reliable data transfer services. Connection oriented service is nothing but if one sender wants to send a message to another recipient, there has to be a dedicated channel. That means there should be a proper direct channel between the sender and receiver before sending the message. That will be taken care by the TCP. That means TCP will help us to provide a dedicated channel between a sender and the receiver. As there is a direct channel between the sender and the receiver, it is also providing reliable data transfer. That means whatever the message the sender is sending, that will be surely be received by the proper recipient. Next is UDP service. UDP services is also providing two kinds of service, that is connectionless and no reliable data transfer service. Connectionless means here there is no obligation that there should be a dedicated channel between the sender and the receiver to send a message. That means without any dedicated channel, the sender can send the message to the receiver. As there is no direct channel, it does not provide the reliable data transfer. That means, a sender that has the message that has been sent by the sender, it may not be received by the recipient, or it may not be received by the proper recipient also. There is a chance that it does not provide reliable data transfer. So, it provides two services, TCP service which is connection oriented, and UDP service that is connectionless. The fifth concept that we will be studying under the principle is application layer protocol. Application layer protocol is nothing but it deals with a process that is running on one computer, how it passes the message to the process that is running on the other computer. These things is taken care by all these things will be taken care by the application layer protocols. What does this define? What does application layer protocol defines means, what is the type of message the process is sending, what is the syntax or what is the format of the message the process is sending, what is the semantic of the message, that is what is the meaning of the information the process is sending, and how it has to send the message and how it is going to respond to that message. All these 4 points will be taken care by the application layer protocol. So, with this the principle of network application will be finished. The next topic which we are going to study is peer-to-peer applications. Peer-to-peer applications. Instead of using client server applications, we can also use peer-to-peer applications. Here what happens, if there is a computers, instead of making a one computer as a boss or as a server, we can make everyone as a peer. That means a file can also be received from its peer, can also be taken from its peer. That means it can save the data to its peer, it can download the data from its peer. These things are very useful in instant messaging. Peer-to-peer applications are very useful in instant messaging applications. Under this, we are going to study peer-to-peer file distribution. In client server application, what happens, whatever the data, whatever the larger file which the client wants, it will all be saved in a server. That means the overhead on the server is very high, but in the peer-to-peer application what we will do, we will divide the larger file into smaller files and then we will distribute it to all the peers. Now, suppose one peer in a network wants a small piece of that, he can always ask the peer who has as it, and if he wants another file, he will ask the peer who has as it in the other computer. So, with this the distribution is completely balanced and the overhead is reduced. Under this file distribution, we will study scalability of peer-to-peer architecture. So, under this we are going to study scalability of peer-to-peer architecture. To understand the scalability, let us take the example as you could say in the diagram. Here the client, the servers, peers are all connected through a common network called internet. Now, let us denote upload rate of servers access link by US. We are going to denote upload rate of server's access link by US. Let us denote upload rate of pure access link by UI. US for upload rate for server and for pure upload rate is UI. And the download rate of pure is DI. So, US is upload rate of server, UI is upload rate of pure, DI is download rate of pure. Let us denote the size of the file B, the size of the larger file which is distributed be F, and the number of peers that wants to have a copy of this file be capital N. So, let us say the distribution time for this, distribution time is the time for all the peers to get all the copies of this file is called distribution time. So, now first let us determine the distribution time for client server architecture. The server must transmit one copy of file to each of its n peer. Thus, the server must transmit NF bits. So, that means here main computer is server, the server has to copy the copy of the file to each of its peer. The time taken for it is NF. Since the server's upload rate is US, the time to distribute the file must be NF by US. Let D minimum denote the download rate of the peer with the lowest download rate. Now, suppose as the download rate varies from one computer to another computer, let us say suppose there is a one computer who is able to receive the data in a very slower speed. That means, here it is taking the very larger time or now suppose let us say this and there is another computer which is using a very high process, and that means he is able to download a file very instantly. So, that is the minimum time that is he is taking. Let us denote it as D minimum. That means, D minimum is equal to minimum of all the download rate of all the peers, that is minimum of D1, D2 to Dn. So, thus the minimum distribution time could be at least F by D minimum, that is what they have shown it in a formula, that is DCS should be greater than or equal to maximum of NF by US comma F by D minimum. Now, let us determine the distribution time for peer to peer architecture. Here also the file, initially the file will be within the servers and then it will be distributed among the peers. At the beginning the distribution, only the server has the file, that is why it has to distribute to the community of peers. That means, the server must send each bit of the file to at least one of its access link. That means, the minimum distribution time is at least F by US. As with the client server architecture, the peer with the lowest download rate is the F by D minimum, isn't it? That is why the minimum distribution time is F by D minimum. Finally, observe the total upload capacity of the system as a whole is equal to the upload rate of the server plus upload rate of each of the individual peers, that is U total is equal to US plus U1 plus to UN. That is why it is a summation of I to N, I is equal to 1 to N UI. So, when we put together in a formula, dP to P is greater than or equal to maximum of F by US comma F by D minimum comma NF by US plus summation of I is equal to 1 to N UI. So, here they have tried to compare the client server architecture with the peer to peer architecture using a distribution time of both the architecture. As you could see, as the number of nodes increases, the minimum distribution time increases for the client server architecture, but with the peer to peer architecture it is almost as lower than the client server architecture. That is why they say minimum distribution time is always less than the minimum distribution time of peer to peer architecture is always less than the client server architecture. The next topic which we are going to study is distributed hash tables. Now, while storing the data, what we will do? Well, we will insert the data in form of a key value pair. But in the client server architecture, all these key value pair, all the information will be present in the single server itself. Whenever we want any information, we will straight away we could ask the server. But in the peer to peer architecture, all these key value pairs will be distributed among all the peers. We need to know, we need to have a mechanism to know which key value pair is present in which peer, and how, if you are going to insert a new key value pair, where in which peer we have to insert. For this, we are going to use distributed hash table, which will help us in this purpose. How does this distributed hash table works means? Now, suppose let us take the example, Alice wants to have a Linux information. She needs to have a information regarding Linux, but this Linux information will be present with Bob, and there are 3 computers as a peers in a network. Let us say this is Alice, this is Bob, this is Charlie. Alice wants to have a information about Linux, but this information is present with Bob. Bob has Linux information, but Alice does not know in which peer the information she is asking is present. What she will do? She will send the key as Linux, that she will send the key as Linux to where? Distributed hash table. The distributed hash table, what it does? It will search all the network, and he will find that Bob has the Linux information, and then distributed hash table will return the Alice saying that Bob has Linux information, and then Alice will contact the Bob. So, as you could see, the searching process is very reduced and it has been simplified because of distributed hash table.